Welcome to episode 2 of How Low Can You Go, the golf podcast where we turn our golf dreams into reality. Isn't that right, Chris?
That's right, and we're back.
Yeah.
We're back. We're here. We're holding each other accountable.
We are holding each other accountable. We have started a podcast to reach our targets. Chris, what's your target?
My target is scratch, the holy grail, the mountaintop of golf, 0.0. And Dave, what's your target?
Well, I'm going from an average golfer with a handicap of 15.6 to a good golfer, a single-digit golfer.
Yes.
But we've only got 6 months to do this. But we're going to do it. That's what's going to happen. Isn't that right, Chris?
That is right, Dave. We're going to get there.
So, we've established where we want to be, but now we need to understand more about where we're at currently. Yeah. So we've called this episode Know Thyself. Okay? So we're going to know exactly what's holding us back from reaching our targets. So, what better way to do that than to enter a competition?
Yes.
Which is exactly what Chris and I did yesterday.
Yes.
At our home course.
Yes.
Do you want to go first? Or shall I, Chris?
I'm going to have... You go first, Dave. You tell him how it went.
Okay. So, let's just say things did not go according to plan. It was a pretty bad day. I started really badly. Just couldn't really get much going. Lots of double bogeys in the front nine. I thought, keep your head up. Things will turn. The back nine on our home course is probably quite a bit easier from
I'd say so.
like compared to the front nine. But I just never really got going. And
just tell him, David. This is a safe place. Come on, just let him know.
Okay, I shot 95.
Whoa, hold on. One more shot, big man. And I wasn't playing with you again. This podcast was over.
Yes, Chris did say on episode 1 that he wouldn't play with anyone who shot worse than 95, something like that. Isn't that what you said?
Something like that. Yeah.
That anyone who shoots anything like that isn't worthy of your presence on a golf course. Okay, so yeah, that's made it all the worse, I think, Chris. Yeah, like I say, started so badly, just never got any better. It is what it is. I would say, in all honesty, it felt like probably the worst I've played in 2025. And, for context, as I mentioned on the last episode, I was an atrocious golfer previously, not that long ago. And so, maybe 95 back then would have been decent enough.
Yeah.
And I get it, people maybe who are really trying to break 100, maybe 95 would sound like a really good return. But, that's how it works, I guess, golf. You gradually, hopefully get a bit better. And then, what was maybe an okay score suddenly looks like a terrible score and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So, really, really bad day. We can dive into it a bit more in a moment.
Yeah, I could see when you were playing, Dave, I could see you were hurting. You were hurting.
It was so painful. And you try your best to keep your head up and smile and everything else, but it was tough going out there, I'll not lie.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I guess I was hurting there with you, buddy, because I shot a 78. And I know that isn't the worst score, but let me tell you, I was grinding out there. And this is a numbers business. And 78 is just not where I need to be if I'm trying to get to golf's mountaintop.
Yeah. No, and I could see that you were really kind of struggling out there. You weren't happy with how things were going. And for context, for anyone listening, our home course is a par 70.
Yeah.
So 78, that's 8 over par. Yeah. So obviously that's kind of 8 away from, where you want to be. And look at me, Chris, I'm 10 shots away from my handicap. I'm not like around 16 away from where I want to be. So a lot of
Yeah.
work to be done.
Nearly an average golfer to a bad golfer. Come on.
Yeah, we're gonna have to rename this podcast soon. Anyway, uh, I guess when you've had a bad day, and both of us were struggling, we both respectively, based on our level, were not playing the way we wanted to play. For me, Chris, the temptation is to kind of maybe just write that off and kind of forget that it ever happened. But we've got 6 months here. We have set ourselves some pretty lofty targets here. Like, I don't know if we can afford to do that, if we can afford to just try and forget about the bad rounds and walk away.
Remember, Dave, we are holding ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
We need to deep dive into these rounds and see where it's going wrong and see where it's going right.
Yeah. And I think you're right, because like, as painful as yesterday was, it maybe sounds corny, but there's a lot that you can learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But, the question that I have that I think is worth asking is, like, how should an average golfer like me, or an amateur golfer, how should you analyze your round? Because, like, as we've said, I think there is a lot of value, even on the bad days, in kind of like really pinpointing where you're going wrong. And that's the whole point of what we're doing right now. We really want to find the areas of our game that are letting us down the most.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can address that. So, as you know, Chris, I obsess over this game a lot. I've read a lot about this game.
A nerd in the numbers.
And I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
On golf. And so, a lot of the leading voices, in my opinion, in the game, a lot of experts who I respect, are kind of fairly unanimously saying these days that greens in regulation.
Big one.
Yeah, it's like the biggest differentiator in terms of golf improvement. So, put it this way, the more greens you hit, the more likely your handicap is going to come down.
Yep.
Okay? Now, I get it, Chris. There's guys and there's girls out there who are outliers, guys who have really, really good short games. Maybe they don't need to hit that many greens and still go really low. But as a general rule, I think the more greens you hit, the more likely you're going to improve at golf. Okay? So, I was looking at some of the stats. I want to get to single figures.
Yep.
So, like a 9 handicap, which would get me there. Like, those guys, on average, are shooting 7 to 10 greens in regulation.
Okay.
They're hitting 7 to 10, okay?
Okay.
So, and that's just average. Like, that's not even their best rounds.
Okay. So tell us. Let us know. It's numbers game, numbers business.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
This
tell us, Dave.
is a results business. So I had 2 greens in regulation yesterday, Chris.
Yeah, that's a sore one.
It's just, and it's just not enough.
No.
Like, I get it. It was a really bad day. So that wasn't an average round for me. It was a really bad round for me. Okay. But I would say, if I'm being honest with myself, like, on my good days, maybe I hit around 7 or possibly 8 at a push greens in regulation.
Yeah.
But I'm rarely ever knocking on the door of hitting like double figures or more.
Yeah.
And I think, like, looking at your level, I think, or single digits, I think that's got to be addressed.
Yeah.
So
where did it all go wrong then with just the 2 greens in regulation? Like, tell us, where did it go wrong?
Well, yeah. And I think this is a really important question, because, there must be some cause for all of this. And like, as I mentioned, doing a fair bit of research into what it's going to take to get me to where I want to be. Again, lots of like big name voices in the game of golf these days are saying that golf improvement, and this sounds really obvious, but I think it's worth repeating, is not necessarily like carding way more birdies in your round. Obviously, that would be nice.
Yeah.
But getting better at golf is way more to do with just getting those big numbers off the card, right? And so those doubles and those triples, certainly at my level, from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is,
Safe place, Dave. This is a safe place.
It's almost embarrassing to go over this and almost too painful to talk about it. But if I'm looking back at yesterday's round, I had 5 doubles and 3 triples. Actually, no, hold on. I had 2 triples and a quad in there.
Oh, the quadzilla marching about on that card.
Yeah, I think we'll come to the quad in a moment. But, as we've said, to try and get an understanding of like what's really letting us down, and we've got a really bad day here to kind of analyze.
Yeah.
So if I really quickly just kind of whiz through what was the main cause of all those bad holes, those doubles and those triples and the quad. So had a really bad start to the round, which nobody ever wants. So I had that, you've seen it before, Chris, that big sort of snap hook with the driver. Our home course has like houses and out of bounds all the way up the left-hand side. This shot went right up against that wall. I was lucky it didn't go OB. And then, like, to be honest, Chris, I'd say a double was about as good as I could have made from that position. Then, again, like I mentioned, really bad start to the round. On the second, I hit an actually pretty good tee shot, but it actually just carried over through the back of the green on the par 3. Then hit a pretty ropey chip from quite an unlucky bad lie. And then 3 putts.
From 3 putts.
Yeah, 3 putts from like 35, 40 feet. Things steadied a bit, and then I got to the 6th and had that. And again, you've seen this shot off the tee, another bad tee shot, but that kind of weak push sort of cut thing that's creeping into my game a lot. And so that went out of bounds, had to take a drop from the red stakes, and then took a double from there. Then on the 9th, actually had a good tee shot, but then bad decision, too much club into a recovery situation and took a triple. And then I thought, we're at the turn, we're on the 10th, things can only get better, but they only got worse. So, yeah, on the 10th, off the tee, once again, another bad tee shot, horrible, like fat hook thing into the trees, no chance I'm finding that ball, triple bogey. And then Chris came.
Here comes the 11.
Then the 11th, where there was a real meltdown, let's face it. So hit a good drive, hit a good drive on the fairway. There was quite a strong wind against yesterday. And so I still had like a full 5-iron into the green, but happy with the drive. Actually hit the 5-iron pretty well, but it just kind of faded on me and then went into this kind of dip. And so I've got this, what is a tough, like, come on, Chris. It is a tough shot from, I've got to play definitely up into a kind of elevated green, not a lot of green to work with.
Thick rough on the embankment.
Yes.
Steep.
And so what did I do? I tried to play this kind of like bump and run little low pitching wedge thing that I've got.
Into thick rough.
Yeah. And I watched it just get to near the top of the hill and then roll back down. And then I decided that I would just go ahead and do that again. Yeah. So I watched it roll back down the hill again.
And then this is where I had to interject because the viewpoint that I then seen Dave, I thought he was going to go back to his bag and take out another club and try another approach to this green. But no, he steps up and I literally had to be like, if you think you're going to hit that same shot again, that is not happening. Take a second, mate.
Honestly,
take a second.
It was a bit like you were trying to talk me down from the ledge or something here, but this is what happens, Chris. Out there, when you have a moment like that, like, let's face it, I just had back-to-back triple bogeys.
Yeah.
I was pretty annoyed.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost like an expression of the rage that you're feeling where I'm just going, well, I'm just going to do that again. I'm just going to do it again, aren't I? And that's what just kept happening. And then, I can't talk about it anymore. I ended up with a quad.
And what do I always say, though? I always say the course will always win.
Yeah, those are wise words. You've
got to just take that and just know that you can't beat the course. In your moment of rage, step away from the ball.
Yeah. And you've told me that before, to be fair. And
Yeah.
you are good at that. I've seen you, like I have seen you, even as a good golfer, I've seen you hit some pretty bad shots.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that about you and other good players, that you guys are probably slightly better at just shaking it off
Yeah.
and then focusing on what you're trying to do for the next one rather than just working yourself up into
I missed.
an idiotic rage. So sorry, that was the meltdown on 11. I kind of rallied a little bit, had a few powers, but then on the 14th, another bad tee shot, Chris. Another bad tee shot. Hit it into a tree. I was pretty unlucky, I reckon, not to find the ball. But anyway, even if I had, I was going to be like working hard to try and even get a bogey from there. So had to reload and took another triple on there. And then the 18th was a horrible, horrible way to end the round. Like I'd hit a really good drive, probably the best of the day.
Yeah,
I'd say.
so.
Yeah. And then a perfectly good second shot. It's a par 5. So talk about like absolutely squandering like a really, really good position and taking a double. So I was 95 yards from the green and like just wrong club, I think, ended up short. And then I don't know what happened. Tried to bump and run and totally duffed the chip. So I was like hitting 2 chips onto the green. I then actually hit a really, really good bump and run chip to within 2 feet.
Yeah.
And then I missed. I missed the 2-footer. And like, yeah, it's on our 18th green where like on the competitions, there's sometimes people in the sort of balcony area watching you hole out. And one of our mates, a guy who we play with quite regularly, Jordan, like
green.
He walked up to the side of the green and I was going, go away. I was going, I don't want anybody to watch me while I'm doing this.
Well, I'm having a meltdown at Murrayfield.
Yeah. And so, missed the 2-footer. So, I can't be reliving much more of this, Chris. So I'm glad I've got to 18. Yeah. So that was it. Like 5 doubles, 2 triples and a quad. Like that's just, you can't be expecting to get to single digits if you're doing that out there.
Well, I can't sit here and just laugh at your round because I've got to talk about mine now, unfortunately. So basically 78, standing over the ball on the first tee. Do you know when you get that, your driving's not on today, but your putting is?
Oh, yeah.
When I was standing over the ball, I was just looking down at the club and I was like, I don't know where this is going to go.
Really? Because do you feel like that? Because you're really good off the tee, and and I think guys of your level have to be really. But like, I didn't think that sort of entered the minds of people of your level.
No, like it definitely does. Like I know I watched this interview where Rory McIlroy says that he sometimes gets the first tee jitters. Like, wow. And it's Rory McIlroy. Mm. So I'm not saying Rory doesn't look down at the ball and goes, I don't know what I'm going to do here. Mm. I did. And that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the game for me. I feel like when I was doing that, you hit that. I hit an all right drive off the first, which kind of put me in the middle. And then I got the chip, I chunked it, and I managed to kind of recover quite well. Yeah. But for me, it was the chipping to the 3 putts. Yeah. And it's just killing me just now. And one thing that I've been looking at, you're looking at greens and regulations. Mm. Have you ever heard of the Tiger 5?
Yes, I have actually. Yeah. Tiger 5. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for people that haven't heard of the Tiger 5, this is when Tiger was in his prime. He would have 5 things basically after a game that he would look into. So I've got it written down here. So number 1 is 3 putts. Yeah. So for me, 3 putts, I had 4 of them. I had one on the 10th, one on the 11th, one on the 13th, and one on the 17th.
And I don't mean to rub it in, Chris. Yeah. But
I shouldn't be doing that.
That is quite surprising for someone who's like a 2 handicap like that. Yeah.
That's not good.
That's a lot. That is a lot. Yeah.
I'm getting green in regulation. I looked back and I was 10 greens in regulation.
Yeah. Okay.
I looked back, but then 3 putting 4 times is not going to help that.
Right. Okay.
The second one is double chips or blown easy saves. I had one on 13th. It's a par 3. I was at the back of the green, duffed the chip, which never used to happen. But now that it's this thing that's coming into my game, which brings no confidence in chipping. Everybody knows chipping. If you've got it, it's brilliant. If you don't, it's one of the scariest things ever.
Yeah,
so,
and just on that, for clarity, that was what Tiger Woods called a blown easy save when he was in like a position where he felt he should be getting up and down from around the green. And yeah, for what you're saying is like maybe if you duff a chip, like you're double chipping to get onto the green. Yeah,
of course.
And like just on that, Chris, and again, I don't mean to upset you, but what's going on with the wedges? You know, because like this might sound daft, but there are times we play a lot of golf together, and there are times when I would say, even as an average golfer, I can occasionally go pound for pound with you off the tee. Not always, but there are some times where I've hit a really good drive and I'm right up where you are.
This guy's dreaming again.
No, but seriously. And there's some times where I would like hit iron shots and have like a really nice ball flight that's not a million miles away from something that you could hit. However, I've often thought that you are kind of playing a different game to me and the rest of us average golfers with your wedges. Like I was looking and I'm thinking, this guy talks to his wedges here. Like you seem to just be able to like just land it on any spot, and you just seemed ultra confident with a wedge in your hand. What's going on? What's going on?
YouTube golf.
The ruiner of many's a golf game.
And listen, Jason Day, if you're watching this, you ruined my chipping. I used to be so wristy and just like feel soft hands, really feel like my chipping. Yeah. But I watched a YouTube that Jason Day said to keep your hands straight. Keep your arms.
I've heard of that. The sort of dead hand chipping, honestly, dead hand pitching.
See, since I've done that, like I stand over a chip and my confidence. I used to know, like look at a spot and be like, right, okay, that's where the first bounce is going to be. Not anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Not anymore. So that's where I'm falling down. Yeah. The third one on the Tiger 5 list is bogeys from 150 yards out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'd say like I feel like a lot of club golfers, amateur golfers, scratch golfers, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, way more than we should. If you look at the stats for 150 yards out. But there's sometimes, like for example, the 5th.
Yes.
Where I was standing over the ball and I think I had around about 125 yards out.
Yeah, so you'd hit a really, really good tee shot on the 5th to be in that position.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I'm standing there and I'm like, right, okay, you've got a pitching wedge in hand, but this is a 9-iron because the wind's blowing heavy in face.
And it was like I was there. The wind was really strong against, absolutely.
And I spoke to myself and I said, right, go back to the bag, take the 9-iron out. But no. What did I do? I decided to double down and I was like, just hit it harder. Just hit it harder. Right. And then all of a sudden that generates more spin. Like, so the ball's not going to bounce forward the way I need it if I'm taking less of a club. So then that's where I got my bogey there. So to me, that's
your approach shot ended up quite a bit short of the green. Got caught up in the wind. Yeah, no, I remember that.
So that's what I would say, bogeys from 150 yards out. I think that's what's a killer. It's more that kind of mental side of it, where I know what I need to do from that kind of yardage, but it's just, and again, that's with the chipping, absolutely smash a drive, and then I duff it.
Yeah, and
I think everybody does that sometimes.
Yeah, no, well, indeed, but it sounds like it's something that has been a bit of an issue for you recently. But like, you're talking about Tiger 150 yards and in. Yeah, you know, in that situation, you were like 120 yards. Yeah. My guess is, at the level you're at and where you want to get to, like you really, really can't afford to be like not taking at least a par from that situation.
Exactly.
Right?
I need to just commit to what my head is telling me. Like I need to do it. And then on the fourth one on the Tiger 5 is bogeys on a par 5. So I got a double bogey on the par 5. So did you? Yeah. So shocker. I'm trying to move on quickly.
Was that on the 14th? Was that?
On the 14th.
So we both had absolute shockers on that.
Yeah.
Right? Uh-huh.
On the 5th one on the Tiger 5 is double bogeys. So I had one on the 13th where I duffed that chip, and I had one on the 14th.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of structure that I'm wanting to try and look for is the Tiger 5.
Yeah.
And just kind of like pick ones from that and see.
And with that, it helps you really zone in on what's costing you. And like, let's bear in mind, this was Tiger Woods in his heyday. Yeah. And even he was marking down some of these. I think he had it like across a tournament, like maybe a 4-round tournament. And he felt like that he could afford maybe one of those each day or something like that. I think that was what it was.
And I'm Tiger wish he could. I'm just not that guy.
But that being said, I think it's a really good way for certainly someone of your level. It's a really good framework to try and get a bit more of an understanding of where you're going wrong, to be able to analyze your round. Like, I do think it's really useful for someone like me, but I do think, at my level, I probably would want to refine the Tiger 5 a little bit, if I may.
So like the average golfer would refine it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think, to make it more meaningful and useful as a kind of a set of stats for me, I think I would keep looking at 3-putts and tracking 3-putts.
Yeah.
Because I think 3-putts are a killer for any golfer at any level.
Yeah.
3-putts or worse. Dare I say it? Double chips, so that was the blown easy saves. Yeah. Double or worse as well, we should say, because sometimes there's like on the 11th,
seen some head
there's sometimes
losses.
more than just 2 of those chips. Anyway, let's move on. And then bogeys from 150 yards. I think like that's aggressive for my level. I would say, let's think about this. I'd need to actually probably do a little bit more research on this, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking anything within 100 yards. So if I've hit an absolute cracker of a drive and I'm within 100 yards of the green, I'm going to be really disappointed if I don't take a par from that situation. And my guess is that the level I want to get to, single digits, that's kind of where I need to be. So I'm going to refine it and say bogeys within 100 yards. And then also I'll just tweak it a little bit and say tracking doubles on par 5s, because I think at my level and sort of knocking on the door single digits, I think a few bogeys on par 5s are probably okay. So I think I'm going to track the doubles on there. And then the last thing, and this I think is the absolute killer for me, and I think you're probably going to agree with this, Chris, I'm going to track penalties and recoveries. So where I'm ending up in penalty situations, having to take penalty shots, or else I'm hitting the ball into recovery situations. Yeah. And like, let me just have a look at what I got here. So 3 putts, I had 2, but I'm actually going to count that 2-footer at the end because that felt as bad as a 3-putt. Yeah. Would you agree with that? So like that almost felt as bad. So I'm going to say 3 there. Double or worse chipping, that happened 3 times. Yeah. Bogey within 100 yards, that happened just once. But I think there's good reason for that, and I'll come to that in just a moment. Doubles on par 5s. Well, I had a triple and a double on the par 5s yesterday. So that's 2 out of 2 there. And then, listen to this, Chris. Penalties and recoveries, I had 11. Oh, right?
Yeah, that ain't good. That's not good golfer behavior.
No. So, like, 11. So, in all honesty, a lot of that coming from those bad tee shots that I talked about earlier, right? So, I'm just not giving myself a chance to hit greens in regulation. You know, I'm talking about, I need to hit more greens in regulation. But if I'm not giving myself a chance by putting myself into so much trouble most of the time off the tee. I think this really sort of helps zone in on our
journey
shortcomings, I'd say. So as I mentioned earlier, we've called this episode Know Thyself. And, you know, we've really had a chance to dig into what was a bad day, a really bad round of golf for each of us, I would say.
Definitely.
Before we even talk about the next step, Chris, would you say that, like, what you've identified here on yesterday, was that just a one-off, or is this something that you've seen some patterns in your play recently?
You know, Dave,
Like the three putts and the dodgy chipping here and there.
I definitely think that this has been happening since last season as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it was midway through last season that I watched that YouTube video that lives in my head rent free. Thank you for that.
Why did you do it, Chris? Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I don't know. Like he's signing deals with clothing brands, and I was like, oh, he looks really cool. I'm going to watch one of his videos, and I was like, oh, I'm doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
I thought I'm doing it all wrong. So
this can happen, and I think this is something that we want to look at along the way here. Is just like, there's so much really brilliant stuff out there, but if you're flying blind into it, you can end up going into some really dark places with your golf game.
Well, this is it. You're seeing it in the flesh.
Right.
But to go back to what you were like asking about, is this like a new thing? No, this has happened at the start of, like, I'd say midway through the season. I'd done that. Then all of a sudden I lost that confidence, and my scores just started kind of creeping.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a drastic, I was shooting an 85, a 90. It was like they were, instead of being that solid golfer, just par golf, boring golf.
Yeah.
I was noticing it was just creeping up.
Yeah.
And I think fundamentally it comes down to the chipping, because then that leaves me in a like maybe a 14-foot putt, 14 to 10 feet chip, like, because I've duffed it, but it's rolled onto the green. And then I 3-putt, and the other guys that I play with, like with Scratch League, I'm not seeing them do that.
Yes. So hold on, like Scratch League, is that something that only kind of guys who are Scratch at our club are able to play?
So basically, I know what you're about to say.
How come you're allowed to play in that? Because, like, you're not quite there yet, are you?
Yeah,
like,
no, that's, I'm the ringer on the end. If they need someone, I just jump in.
You do qualify for that, do you?
I do qualify, and I do win some games, so behave yourself.
I'm winding you up. I'm winding you up. I know, but I think you've said this to me before, is like with regard to some of the putting stuff, is those guys who are in around Scratch, or even better, like some of the guys who are like +2, +4 kind of handicaps, I think you've said this to me before, they make their fair share of 10-footers, right?
Oh, and more. When you're playing Scratch League, I'll let you dream about this tonight. So when you're playing Scratch League, if someone gets it on the green, there's a very good chance they're going to make that.
Wow.
Like, you just, like, you've got to think they're making this.
Yes. And, like, not saying for one moment that, like, 10-foot putts or whatever are easy putts to make, but I think at the level that you want to reach, you've got to start making more. A fair few of those.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's not happening.
And cutting out the 3 putts, let's face it.
Cutting out 3 putts, cutting out the mind games. But like, where do we start with that?
Yeah. Well, I guess, I think we need to make a really decent plan here to address this, but like,
no, I like that.
Like, looking at mine, I think we've covered this already. Like, I'm not hitting enough greens in regulation.
Yeah.
And like, I'm hitting too many shots that go wild and costing me penalty shots or putting me in recovery situations.
Like, you're ball striking,
Exactly. And like, maybe when I'm in the recovery situation, I'm not recovering well out of it.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like, a few double plus chips or 3 putts thrown in along the way. But I think what you said there is exactly right. And this sounds really obvious. Like, to get better at golf, I need to get better at ball striking. But I like, it, Chris, that's kind of where it's at for me.
Yeah.
It has got better.
Yeah.
Like, gradually. But if I want to get to the level I want to get to, it's got to go up a level, I think.
Definitely.
Like, so that the way of me seeing that is that I see a big reduction in those penalties and recoveries, just way more tee shots in play, giving me an opportunity to hit the green in regulation. So, yeah, I think that in a nutshell is where I'm feeling like I'm being held back. And you've kind of identified.
It's the 3 putts
that
are killing me, but the 3 putts come from the bad chipping.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason Day. And then, and I'd say as well, it's the mental aspect of it. I think I'm just losing concentration sometimes in a round. And that's what's killing me.
Yeah.
And I can't have that if I'm trying to reach that goal of scratch.
Yeah. So, said this at the beginning,
Yeah.
and now we can kind of reiterate. We know where we want to get to. You're going to get to scratch in 6 months.
Yep.
The clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking and
Chris,
scared now.
the clock is ticking. I'm getting to single figures. Yeah, that's right. I am in 6 months. And we know where we're at in terms of our shortcomings. We know the areas that we think are holding us back. So let's go away and come back with a really decent plan to address all this. You with me?
I'm with you, Dave.
Okay, let's make a plan.
Perfect.